identify those binding, enforceable policies that will achieve these greenhouse gas reduction goals. The drafts that we were able to engage in, which showed a lot of terrific work, included many good ideas, everything ranging from how to incentivize cities to adopt ambitious building codes to ideas for how to reduce unnecessary single occupancy vehicle travel. These are all great ideas. They should be part of our climate change portfolio. But at the end of the day, we need to ensure that whatever suite of policies we rely on can be guaranteed to occur at a magnitude that will reach the governor's goal. And so I'd encourage the task force to make sure the final report includes a clear statement that those targets will be met. I think Sydney talked about comprehensive climate change legislation. That's certainly one way to do it. I'd also encourage you to consider backstop policies in case that legislation doesn't get enacted. And so finally, I just want to say I do think this was a really worthwhile process. I learned from the diverse members of the group, bringing together all kinds of perspectives, whether it was Joseph with on-the-ground perspectives of how Native communities are being impacted, to folks who had conservation experience, people like Matt from the oil and gas sector or other industrial sectors. But I also know, and I hope that our group collectively provided some useful input, but I also know that there are lots of other people with important perspectives and expertise that weren't part of the tag. So I'm very glad to hear that the task force will continue public engagement and provide opportunities for those voices to provide input. And I certainly hope that the task force will listen to those voices and find a way to incorporate what they have to share. So thank you again. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Matt, Joseph, Sydney, and Gabe. This is a learning process for all of us, and we really do appreciate the opportunity to engage with the folks in the tag on this level. I also was remiss before in recognizing some of the other members of the tag that are also on this call. That I just want to recognize Patrick Padilla from EOG Resources, was a member of the tag, as well as Amy Miller with Land of Enchantment, Clean Cities. I see that Gerald Wiesen from New Mexico Gas Company is in this meeting, as well as Priscilla Lucero from Southwest Council of Governments. And there may be others of you that are participating, but that I can't recognize because you may be on the phone. So if you're on the phone, I don't know if you can unmute yourselves, or if you're in the chat and I missed you, please put your name in the chat and make sure that you that we can recognize all the hard work that the tag did. It was 4 months, 7 meetings, 3 hours each time, homework in between. It was really an intensive process, and we are all very grateful for the work that you have done. And I just thought also perhaps I could just list the other organizations that were participants. We had Center for Civic Policy, the City of Albuquerque, Dairy Producers of New Mexico, El Paso Electric Company, Interwest Energy Alliance, Kit Carson Electric Cooperative, Los Alamos National Lab, the Navajo Nation Environmental Protection Agency, the New Mexico Environmental Law Center, the New Mexico Farm and Livestock Bureau, New Mexico State University Forestry Research Center, New Mexico Sustainable Economy Advisory Committee, Pueblo Action Alliance, Pueblo of San Ildefonso, Pueblo of Zuni, Sierra Club, University. Well, we had okay. Those were the others, and some of them to different varying degrees. Some of them bowed out during the process for various reasons. That's all part of the process. We recognize that people want to participate and can participate differently depending on what's going on for themselves and their organizations. Anyway, so I want to move on to the last part of this presentation, where we will have Emnerd and Anna Linden. Let's make sure you are unmuted before I go to sharing my screen, where it becomes much harder for me to do that. Anna Linden, let's see. Anna Linden, unmute. Request sent, and now I'm going to switch to presentation so we can see some slides too. So let me share my
Just checking
screen.
that worked. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Okay, always good to check, given the technology issues we've been having. All right, now, are you guys seeing the slides on the next steps? Great. And I will now advance to the next slide. Okay. Anna Linden, it's all you.
All right. So I'm Anna Linden Willer. I'm the policy advisor in the MNERD, Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department, Office of the Secretary. And I was really honored to help staff this advisory group. And I'm here to tell you about what we're doing next. So the big project that the Climate Change Task Force is now engaged in, and Claudia kind of previewed this at the beginning, is we want to create a comprehensive climate action plan that starts in 2023 and goes through 2028. And this is why we picked that time range is you may have heard that the 2020s are sometimes called the decisive decade for climate. And our 45% reduction goal also is a 2030 goal. So this plan that's right in the center of that decade and sets us up for 2030 is something that we hope as we develop it with the input of the TAG through the lens of the equity principles, and yes, with further public engagement, that we can set up the state for achieving our goal and achieving further goals beyond that. I'm not going to read my slide because that tends to be really dull for everyone involved, but those 40 goals and 199 implementing actions that Claudia mentioned, those are going to become the spine of this plan. And the plan itself will be scalable. We want it to be usable for everybody, for an individual, for a mayor or a city councilor, for a state government employee, for one of our federal partners. And we want the actions that we propose and the policies that we recommend to be deeply based in the climate equity principles and informed by the work of the technical advisory group. The public process that will help create this plan will be both in the process of creating the plan. So this October, we hope to have direct opportunities for the public to look at what we're doing and give us feedback. But also we recognize that it is pretty short, and thank you, chat. County commissions, yes, absolutely. We recognize that it's not just important to get public participation, but to allow enough time for real public trust and real input. So, and this was actually something I think that at least I personally learned from my experience being with the TAG, not part of it, but with it as the TAG did their work, is the phrase community of trust and building a community of trust. So our public engagement strategy for building this plan is to bake public engagement and public revision of an iterative plan, a plan that can't evolve over 5 years. How are any of us to predict what 2027 will need, given that we don't know what 23, 24, 25, 26 are going to look like yet? But a plan that has a system for constantly working with New Mexicans to figure out how we reach our goals. I hope to have a lot more details on how this is going to work in the next few months. We have just completed this TAG process and therefore just started working on the climate action plan. So you may be hearing from Maria Lohman, from Claudia, from myself in the next few months as we seek out your help, your advice, and your evaluation of the work that we're going to do in putting together the next few years of climate policy, building on what we've done here in state government under the Lujan Grisham administration and what the people of New Mexico have done over the past 4 years and longer than that to address this existential threat. And I also want to thank everybody for coming to this meeting and for dealing with us during our technical difficulties. And we hope that it's been useful and gives you a kind of snapshot of the people and ideas that we were honored to host. And yes, this presentation will be on the New Mexico Climate Action webpage. And if the recording worked, then this recording will also be there. And I believe, as Claudia stated at the beginning of the presentation, if you have any questions, and I think we might go to the next slide, which I think has people's contact information on it. Please feel free to reach out to Claudia or to Maria, or both. And we really appreciate your feedback and your attention. And I hope that everyone has a lovely evening. I'll turn it back over to Claudia if there's anything I've missed.
All right. I wanted to echo Anna Linden's thank you to all of you. Thank you to the interpreters. Thank you also to the translators that helped provide us the Spanish information for these slides. Thank you to our presenters today, the secretaries, the members of the TAG. Thank you to all the TAG members. I want to echo everything that was said about what a rich process it is and how much learning happens, both about the actual technical work, but also about how we have conversations and build ideas in a collaborative way. I want to thank also the whole team that helped bring this together. And I apologize again for the technical issues we were having, and I hope that next time we will have learned a great deal and be able to put together a meeting much more gracefully. And I would also want to welcome either the secretaries from saying anything if they want to, although I know what we also mentioned is they really wanted to listen and learn as we have done really throughout this process, and we have listened and learned a great deal. So thank you, everybody. And Secretary, since you have brought yourself back on camera, both secretaries have.
I was going to say thanks.
Okay, so whoops, you and let's see, make sure you're unmuted. Wait.
Thank you, everybody.
I was going to express my appreciation as well, and we can't do this work without everyone on this call, whether you're part of the TAG or listening in. So a call to action for all of us. So thank you all.
All right. With that, we will end the meeting. Thank you and have a nice evening.